All right, all right, all right, all right. I'm a bit late on this one. Sorry. But Stonewall, gender intelligence, and mermaids have all gone full men's rights activists. Let me explain why. This is the 17th of June. So you might remember the Times brought out an article saying that the gender recognition thing was going to be re-reviewed and they were putting it all on hold, which wasn't really news. That was already a thing. You know, it's been 3 years. We all knew. So Robbie DeSantos, director of sport for Stonewall UK. Well, he should know then, shouldn't he? He should know a few things that we're going to touch on in this video, actually. But yeah, director of sport for Stonewall UK put out this tweet. You've heard it all from us at Stonewall UK, but here's what you can do if you have 10, 2, or 1 minute to support trans equality today. Huge credit to Gendered Intelligence. I mean, I don't really follow that much. I know there's a lot of people who got a lot of hate for him. But, you know, but whatever. I've got no huge opinion apart from this that I'm going to show you in a second. And of course, mermaids who definitely don't groom children with their positive affirmation only approach. They don't, because obviously, if you said that they groom children, then you get banned. So they don't. Let me clarify that. So yes, here's the article that he linked. Anyway, the GRA, Gender Recognition Act. Take action for trans equality. I'd love to. That sounds great, man. Although I just like, you know, equality under the law, full stop, to be honest. I'm not really good for drawing lines around certain things. And occasionally it needs to be done, you know. And I respect that. I understand that. I wish it wasn't the case, but it does need to be done sometimes. I understand that completely. You have different rules for kids and adults. You do have different rules for women and men. Slightly, where appropriate. And you know, it's the way of the world, isn't it? But let's get into this, man. There we go. It is 3 years since government announced plans to improve legal recognition for trans people in England and Wales, and 2 years after launching consultation. I think I wrote to it, but I can't remember what. But I think it was after the crime stats came out that have been related to the actions to do with all this. You may have seen some worrying reports in the press that the government may be slowing progress on trans rights. It's such a weird statement. They never fully define it, do they? It's like this sort of, you know, trans rights are human rights. It's like they never ever define it. It drives me mad. And I think that the lack of definition here, the lack of clarity, is good for them, but it's also it's good that people can just get into it, because most people care. Most people want other people to be sort of happy and comfortable and live the best life they can. So it taps into that, doesn't it? Without actually needing to be really got clear on anything. Back to the thing though, including rumours of a regressive action that would see trans people further marginalised in society. Well, I would argue that you guys are marginalising more than ever, more than anything. But, you know, whatever. We can get into that another day. That's one for me and Aidan on a Tuesday, I reckon. If accurate, these would be another blow for our community at this time. What community, man? Why'd you lump everyone in together? There's no such thing as a trans community. It doesn't exist. There isn't. There's a few networked, very loud activists, but it just takes away all autonomy, all individuality. You know, trans people are all different kinds. You know, is Blair White part of the trans community? Because I've seen you all give her a hell of a lot of hate. You know, she gets called a Nazi and all sorts. And you're especially leaving her alone now. She's gone off the meds so she can have a kid. You all gone quiet about that, haven't you? But you know what? Nothing but respect. You know, she wants it to start working again down there so she can have a kid. Total respect. Absolutely. It says here we have a short window where... Why is it short? It's not at all. Where all of us who support trans equality, again, what is it, can influence the Prime Minister and persuade him to improve legal recognition for trans people. Please take action. Right, I'm not interested in this if you're a cis woman. Oh, piss off. Do a tweet. Do a tweet. Boris Johnson knows that Twitter is irrelevant. He knows it. They do. That's why the Conservatives troll Twitter half the time, because they know it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters. Some companies still take it seriously, but overall, it doesn't make a slight difference. Not for stuff like this. So here we go. Use the following talking points to write your letter. This is so sad, man. This is so sad. Look at that declaration there. Sorry, it's a bit small, isn't it? Use the following talking points. Why? Why don't you just give me the information? Why don't you just give me the facts, hey? And let me make up my own mind. Stonewall was born out of exactly that. Let me live my life. Let me be me. You know? And at what point did we shift from freedom to congregate, to go out in public, to just be you? We moved from that to this is you. To defining people's personalities, to defining the movement, the community. You know, if you're in the community, then you have to think this. And I'm not just saying this is Stonewall and this is everything at the moment. Everyone's so polarised, it's ridiculous. Use the following talk points. So here it says, write it in using gendered intelligence email action tool. So we're going to have a look at the action tool in a minute. But let's just touch on their points before we do. So it says, say why you are getting in touch. Mention that you are concerned about worrying reports in the press that the government may be slowing progress on trans rights in England and Wales, including rumours of regressive action that would see trans people further marginalised in society. I'd love to know how. No one ever frigging explains this. Point 2 is say why trans equality matters to you. If you are trans, consider talking about why legal recognition is important to you and the negative impact that reducing access to single-sex spaces could have on your daily life. This is really, really important. This is the crux of it. Reducing access to single-sex spaces. Now, this is why the Gender Recognition Act reformation hit the hiccup. Because a lot of local councils tried to get ahead of this by making sports halls, you know, swimming pools, all the rest, gyms and that, single-sex changing rooms. They just rolled it out ever. I mean, it's one of those things again, isn't it? It's a great way to save money, man. Just one big room. You're not policing it as much. You're not thinking about it as much. Chuck them all in together. You save money, save effort. You look good. You can be all like, yeah, look, we're inclusive. Now, what happened after they made all these spaces single sex? Sexual assault went through the roof. But the problem is, these companies only talk about that. I am sure there are plenty of trans people whose lives would be improved if they felt more comfortable accessing a space that was more along the lines of how they perceive themselves than how other people perceive them. I'm sure. But we've got a problem here. When we started mixing the willies and the vaginas, a lot of assault started happening. A lot of really creepy stuff. So what are we going to do here? If we're going to talk about single-sex spaces and your day-to-day life, what about all the women who are being raped? And the number is going up and up. Because we're it doesn't... this is what they never talk about. You put the willies and the other ones all in one space. That it doesn't matter how you identify. It really, really doesn't. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that if you're trans and you're not passing and you might feel uncomfortable and all the rest of it, you can't necessarily change the whole world to bend to your comfort. You're going to have to learn to grow as a person. You're going to have to learn to talk to the staff, to get access to the disabled room or a private room. If you're really struggling or you're being challenged or whatever, I'm sorry. Life is hard. But we can't allow women all across this country to be raped just so you feel a bit more comfortable. Because I tell you this, it's not going to help anything. It isn't helping anything. We are at a net negative here. More and more women are becoming gender critical, are becoming TERFs, are doing all that stuff. More and more women are stepping up and saying no because they want to go to the swimming pool with as little chance of being raped whilst they are vulnerable and naked as possible. And if you're going to hitch your personal comfort against their personal comfort, you are going to lose. 100%. You can call them every name under the sun. You can smear J.K. Rowling all you want. But we don't have single-sex spaces protected under the law for reasons of oppression. It's safety. And we remember that. And I'm sorry. If you're trans, I'm so sorry. I really genuinely am. You're getting the short end of the stick on this one. But it's tough. Tough shit. There has to be a balance. We can't make your life slightly more comfortable and then ruin 100 other lives as a result. There has to be. You have to do the equation on it, man. So they put out this statement. I'm not going to go into it at the moment, though. But it's all the same thing. This is another blow to our community this time. Our community, like, why won't you just discuss what I've just said? You need to discuss it. We will carry on working with trans-led and trans-exclusive or inclusive organisations to fight for trans people to be able to live their lives with dignity and respect and for acceptance. Yeah, that's the thing, the dignity and respect thing. Women are being sexually abused because we are removing sex protections. That is being rolled back. That is being eroded. Because there's a hyper focus, not even on trans people, on trans activists. It seems to me people aren't actually asking a lot of trans people what they think about this. Because when I've spoke to them, they've been quite reasonable, actually. But, you know, whatever. It really, really frustrates me. In fact, no, there's a reason I got this statement up. These reforms would have made many trans people's lives much easier. I agree with that. I think the self-ID, just full, uncontrolled self-ID is an obvious mistake. And you are lying to yourself or other people if you don't think that's the case. Of course it is. You're just destroying safeguarding in the name of waving a rainbow flag. It doesn't make any sense at all. We can have a conversation about this. We can have a conversation about making it easier, making it more comfortable. Of course there can be reform. Of course there can. But not on the grounds of this ridiculous absolutism. It says here, as we know from changes already made in Ireland 5 years ago, the majority of public responses to the consultation on reforming it supported these changes. So what? So what? Anyway, let's go to this. Look at that. Trust me. So this is gendered intelligence. If you follow Stonewall, you consider yourself part of the community. Which, by the way, please just think for yourself. And don't define yourself by genitals and by all that stuff. You are so much more than that. So much more. You're not going to find happiness in all this. I promise you that. And I love this. Trust me. Here's what they say. On the 14th of June, the Sunday Times had its own page, blah, 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 blah. We've been through this, compounding the trans community's worries. It's just because there's just one person. They all think the same. They all have the same opinions. How disgraceful that you'd collectivise them like this. In the same article, prospective plans were revealed that would tighten the screw of exclusion for trans people from single-sex spaces. No, you keep the knobs and the vaginas separate. That's that's what you do. Because if the knobs aren't in with them, then the knobs can't go inside them. The knobs, who tend to be a lot stronger, who tend to be the ones that do these things. It's not 100%. But if you keep them separate, there's way less chance of anything bad happening. And I'm sorry, but rape is worse than you feeling a little bit uncomfortable. It is. You need to accept that and talk about it in those terms, then maybe we can come to some sort of agreement and arrangement that's happy for everyone. But this divisive nonsense isn't happening. Exclusion. No, because you're not that sex, are you? You're not that sex. Jesus Christ, these people. The threat of rollback on trans rights, dignity and legal protections in the UK cannot be overstated. It's not rolling back. They're just not changing anything. It isn't rolling anything back. This is an issue of human rights. Yeah, like... but not for women, eh? Not for women. Just men who want to be women. And the bodily autonomy and integrity. If we allow trans young people to be stripped of their agency... don't bring kids, oh Jesus Christ, kids into this. To make decisions around healthcare, around which toilets they're legally allowed to use. Next on the chopping block will be wider rights around access to abortion and contraception. Here's the thing, man. We can do this on an individual level. I know plenty of trans people, trans women, who use the women's toilets, and it's fine. Everyone's happy with it. The problem is when you bring it in as a blanket, one rule for all. Like this now, look, Leicester. They're just locking down Leicester with coronavirus, yes? Brilliant. I feel really bad for Leicester on the back of that. I do. It's horrible. But you know what would be worse? Locking down the entire country again on the back of it being there. You need to deal with things on a local level, on a smaller level as humanly possible. And if you just make it law... that anyone with a penis can go into a women's space, then you're just putting a phenomenal amount of women at risk. Ignore trans people. Take trans people out of the equation for a moment. You are broadcasting to men, which, by the way, these people say that 1 in 5, 1 in 3 women are raped, yeah? They talk about rape culture when it suits them. They talk about how dangerous it is to be a woman outside until it comes to this one specific issue. And then suddenly that danger is put to one side. It's really, it's intellectually dishonest. Back to the thing. A loss to trans youth is a loss for all. Why is it youth? Why isn't it everyone? Whatever. They're just putting in as much as possible, aren't they? Anyway, excluding trans women from women's spaces would be a huge step in the wrong direction. Well, that is currently the law, isn't it? That is what the law says. It's just been misinterpreted for a long time. And the monumental loss to the UK's proud human rights record. Tell Prime Minister, blah, 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 blah. Now here it is. This is the thing that got my attention. And it's taken 17 minutes to get here. Sorry about that. Do go on. Where do you live? This is so that they can tell you the MP that's yours. Your name, your email, so they can add you to the propaganda machine. And then subject, please do not roll back trans rights. If you wrote to the government saying, please do not roll back trans rights, you are instantly marking yourself as someone who has not thought about this. It doesn't even match what is going on right now. There isn't currently a roll back. There is a desperate need to clarify the law that already exists. It's got nothing to do with rights. But anyway, whatever. Don't put that. Can you imagine doing this? Can you imagine just the groupthink mentality of just doing as you're told? Just, this is our opinion. This is what we say. At no point, like, everything I've been mentioning is something that I might mention, because there are good arguments on both sides here. And the reason I'm doing this video is they are not presenting this. These people are dishonest. They are bad for society. They are bad for culture. They are bad for trans rights, because they're not providing the argument. They're not providing the full picture. Here we go. I'm writing. We've not even got I am. I'm writing to you today as a UK citizen deeply concerned about proposed rollbacks to safeguards for trans dignity and safety in this country. We have mixed sex spaces. Sexual assaults have gone up. That's it. That's the end of it. And now you've got the women now you've got the women that have noticed this. Women 3-4 years ago that were stood there going, trans rights, trans rights. They now know that trans rights means this. They now know that this is trans rights movement is incredibly damaging for trans people. It's bad for trans people. And you know what? Fuck your dignity. If I walked into a women's changing rooms right now, if I walked into a women's toilets, I would not have a lot of dignity whilst being forced out of there, whilst they were understandably making a lot of noise, whilst the management were grabbing me and saying, what the hell are you doing? There's children in there. You're destroying the dignity and safety of, what is it, 51% of the country? Let's say 50%. I don't deserve any dignity at that point. And I'm sorry, but life is hard. Going the disabled. If you're not passing, I'm so sorry. But it's tough. Jesus, man. On the 14th of June, the Sunday Times had as its front page article on how the much needed reforms to GRA were being shelved. Well, that's a shame. I'm sure these things always need looking at. Compounding the trans community's worries about this was that in the same article, prospective plans were revealed that would tighten the screw of exclusion for trans people from single-sex spaces. The consultation period on the GRA was very difficult for the trans community. Why? Why was it difficult? Why? Trans lives and dignity were debated as though minorities' right to existence itself was up for debate. What dishonest, disgusting framing. That's insane. We are talking about who accesses what spaces. It is not just about trans people. How narcissistic do you have to be? Still, 70% of respondents were overwhelmingly in favour of positive change. Yeah, and how many of respondents were doing emails like this, eh? How many? They just adjusted it slightly. I remember, in fact, I was annoyed I didn't make a video at the time. I remember Stonewall 2 or 3 years ago doing exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Where you just click through and generate it. To ignore this would send a clear message to the country that engaging through democratic means does not lead to positive changes for the most marginalised. The most marginalised? Most? I'd say women getting raped was pretty bad. This would, of course, be a worrying message to signal from yourself as Prime Minister, and I would urge you not to greenlight it. The threat of rollback to trans rights, dignity and legal protections in the UK cannot be overstated. Here's the thing, man. Gender identity is protected. Trans people are protected. The issue right now isn't trans people. It's people who used to proudly just be freaks, who have decided they want all the protections that actual trans people have got. And they hate trans people. They hate actual trans people. They can't stand them. But anyway, we'll get on. Please do not allow trans lives to be used as a pawn in a game they didn't ask to play. Trans people simply want to get on with their lives in safety and in peace. So do women. That's the point. So does everyone. We have to balance everybody's needs. Unduly excluding trans people from public life would be a huge step in the wrong direction and a monumental loss to the UK's plows. Blah, blah, blah. Please don't. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. The level of groupthink here. This mantra. This is what they do. They all stand there. Trans lives matter. Trans lives matter. And it's like, just think for yourself. For God's sake. Get away from these organisations. And the thing that really, really fucks me off with this whole trans people need dignity and all that. And it's like, yeah, they do. So does everyone, man. But what annoys me is, and I don't know because we never know the true numbers on this, but I would bet money that the vast majority of trans people just have actually got a decent perspective on this. And they are being failed at every moment by these organisations who've decided to speak on their behalf, who've decided to do exactly this, used in a porn in a game, who intentionally look away from the rape statistics, the facts, the data. They won't mention it. They will not acknowledge it. If you ask them about it, they give you stats about trans people. How many of them? And they never do it as proportions to the population or any of that other nonsense. No, they just go, well, trans people. And it's true, because there's not that bloody many of them. I'm going to end on this. Highlight that GRA reforms would simply have made many trans people's lives easier. I accept that. I understand that. It would also make rapists' lives easier. Similar changes were made in Ireland 5 years ago with no negative effects reported. Reported by who? By you? Because you're happy to go to the Times when it suits you, but the Times also... They also discussed a rise in sexual assaults. So who are you talking about? Did Pink News not report it? Did The Guardian not report it? You fucking scumbags. You are what's wrong here. You are the weak link. You're the problem. Fuck you. Reported by who? Where's the hyperlink? Where's the data? Where's the information? No, it's statements of fact every fucking time with you people. It's lies. You are lying to people because it suits you. It puts money in your pocket. You fucking scumbags. Speaking of money, get yourselves on triggerwarning.tv. Go on, you can click right there. You can support us. You can become a Patreon. It's very good. Look, we've got 20 Patreons now. How cool is that? 20 people give us... I mean, we get a lot... Most of our donations tend to be PayPal, just direct donations or whatever. But, you know, rather than sending us $50 or $100, which some of you do... Some of you are bloody amazing. Really, thank you. I can't say that enough. Thank you. But we'd much rather just get a few bucks off you every month, honestly. You know, keep that $100, spread it out over the year. We know where we stand then. If you want to get some with it, you can get yourself some merch instead. We love it. We love it when we see you wearing the merch. And there's none live at the moment because it's broke on my computer. I don't know why. But get yourself on GearPress. There's loads. There's so much on GearPress. It's not working on my browser though. That's a terrible advert, isn't it? Awful. I've done something to my browser with the plugins that stops GearPress working, but it will work on yours. Don't worry. It's a specific issue that I've not sorted out. But guys, yeah, thanks so much for your support. And if you can't do that, share it. And please, 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 I don't always get a chance to respond to the comments. Some of you write essays in the comments. If you think I'm right, wrong, or if you've got any other thoughts, feel free. I read every word. I promise you I do. I don't always get a chance to respond because I might be on the loo or just like outside of it. I don't have time to sit and give it thought and give it thing. But thank you so much for your perspective. I do appreciate it, especially the ones that challenge me in an intelligent way. And by the way, if you just write a comment and you've not watched the video, although you won't hear me saying this, I can tell, by the way. If you're just writing it based on the title of the video or because of what someone told you, I can tell. It's fucking obvious. But yeah, and dude, if you really, really want to, get in touch. I'll get you on the show. We'll have a conversation. I'd love to do that. Always. Right, I'll see you in a bit, guys. Have a good night.